The cost of getting a Nevada divorce varied greatly from $400 or $500, including travel, living expenses, and legal fees, up to $5,000 for the well-to-do who traveled and lived in style. Many divorce seekers stayed in boarding houses or rented apartments that sprung up as the divorce colony grew. But those who could afford to found luxury in the Old West.
My father was a lawyer back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, of course. I went with my father to the guest houses and the dude ranches. Just a kid going along with his dad. And we'd go out there to visit with a lot of his clients or the management. And then there were the guest ranches out, in the hinterlands around Reno. And they were really quite nice. I mean, quite nice. And they catered to very wealthy people who came here to Nevada.
The stay in Nevada for the cure became less of an exile to a foreign territory than a 6-week vacation for those who could afford to go first class. The leading divorce hotel, the Riverside, even had a social director on the staff to keep the 6-weekers amused. Guest houses and dude ranches provided a ready-made nest, secure, private, and entertaining. At the height of their popularity, there were a dozen dude ranches in the Reno area, mostly catering to the wealthy out-of-staters.
They entertained their clients. I mean, entertained them. Took them on horseback rides, escorted them around to the nightclubs, had absolutely excellent food. The accommodations were outstanding. Made their guests feel as if it was a vacation. And you could be critical of that by saying you're getting a divorce and it's a vacation, but these people had already settled their problems, in most cases with their husbands. Most of the time the wives came out because the husband couldn't get away from their business. But they had settled their problems, and there was a property settlement agreement outlining everything, essentially a domestic contract. So why not come out and have fun? And they did.
Local people and places, meanwhile, grew famous. Judges Thomas Moran and George Bartlett, processing thousands of divorces a year in the Washoe County Courthouse, were featured in magazine and newspaper articles. Judge Bartlett published a book about marriage and divorce. The courthouse itself and the conveniently located Riverside Hotel appeared on numerous postcards and in numerous articles. Publicity about the divorce colony generated its own terminology. The Truckee River Bridge was the bridge of sighs. The courthouse was the separator, and the park across the street, Alimony Park. The bar at the Riverside was Widow's Corner, and any train bringing clients to town was the divorcee special. Stories and anecdotes made the rounds quickly, were embellished along the way, and are still part of the Reno divorce mystique.
He did have clients in all walks of life, but some of them were celebrities. There were well-known authors like Kay Boyle and John Gunther. Of course, there were movie people. There was a Nobel Prize-winning scientist that he played a lot of ping pong with. There was Madame Sun, I believe a sister of Madame Chiang Kai-shek. The Portuguese Princess Braganza, the famous aviatrix Ruth Elder, and names that resound loudly in American history, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, and many others.
During the time that I was active practicing migratory divorce law, I had clients from every place in the world. Paris, London, mostly, of course, from the United States, but clients from everywhere. And, people don't forget, and a reputation lasts.
Because the Reno divorce colony was a popular topic for newspapers, magazines, novels, and movies, the truth about Reno and divorce, the fiction, and all the gray area in between was widely circulated, keeping the reputation of Nevada and its biggest little city spicy and intriguing, if not accurate. The Hollywood connection helped too. The public was fascinated with Hollywood gossip, and Hollywood stars kept coming to Nevada for divorces.
When there was a celebrity divorce, there'd be a crowd of reporters clamoring down on the courthouse steps in Reno, and some of them would go to any length to get a story. My father's particular nemesis was a stout woman named Lulu Bell, who would actually invade clients' rooms and go through their personal belongings to find some titillating item with which she could scandalize her readers. So he had a running battle with reporters like Lulu Bell. And his favorite stratagem in these situations was to get a divorce in a small town outside Reno. Once the reporters realized what was going on, the whole thing would be over.
Estimates vary as to how much money the divorce trade did bring in. Figures for the 1940s, for example, ranged from $1 to $3 million a year, most of it in Washoe County, specifically Reno. Clark County started to build its divorce business during the 30s, and the Rhea Langham-Clark Gable divorce in 1939 gave Las Vegas a wave of publicity that put it in a position to cash in, as Reno did, on the post-war divorce boom. That boom, nearly 19,000 Nevada divorces in 1946, was never topped, but the business flourished through the 50s and the 60s.
When I first started practicing law in Reno, we had 3 judges. And and the divorce calendar started at 9:30, as I recall. So I would remember that each judge would have perhaps 6 to 10 cases every morning. So you might, if there were 10 cases for each judge every morning, that'd be 30 divorces each day. That was not unusual.
I think perhaps we're passing through the same kind of historical process with legalized gambling now that we already passed through with divorce. In both of these things, Nevada developed her frontier traditions for economic advantage. And the divorce business ended when the rest of the nation essentially caught up with Nevada. And that's happening now with legalized gambling.
I always felt a part of an evolution, because I could see what was happening. I could see it was coming, that the divorce business in Nevada would cease to exist. On a migratory basis, I could absolutely see it coming, because there were so many changes in the attitudes of the politicians and the attitudes of religious authorities. I don't think the religious authorities ever wanted to let go. They never wanted to make divorce easy, you know. But after all, people demand those things, and the politicians had to honor these demands, and ultimately you could see as time went on, each state would change its divorce laws, and pretty soon the business started evaporating, because why come here? And so, and it did evaporate in due course. Our reputation didn't,